today's lesson, we'll continue on the reactions that occur between acids and bases, neutralization reactions, and other ones. In the previous lesson, we had kind of explained how can acid and bases react together. And we said in neutralization reaction between an acid and base, where there is a reaction between H3O and OH, when we found the reaction at first, we said acid and base react together to form salt and H2O. And then we wrote the overall ionic equation for that reaction. Then we got a net ionic equation for a neutralization reaction, which is always H3O and OH to become H2O. The same thing we did for the next question. Now, we'll solve another example as well related to that subject. And that is, this time it's kind of the same thing, but the question is asking it in another way. For example, it says write formula equation, of course, not a problem. Overall ion equation and net ion equation, not a problem. For neutralization, it says for neutralization. So neutralization is between acid and base. That would form the following salt. That's unsalted whisker. So this salt actually is produced from what? Cation of a base, that's a salt. And anion from a base, acid. Cation of a base, anion of an acid. What is the cation of a base? Ba. So if it comes from a base, so it must be Ba OH by 2. SO4, which is an acid, so it comes from H2SO4. So the neutralization is between barium hydroxide and H2SO4. That's why this is the reaction. We'll say barium hydroxide, let's just say it, or H2SO4, sorry. H2SO4 reacting with barium hydroxide, and of course the salt is BaSO4 plus H2O. But everyone, please pay attention to the salt. Be careful. Let's look at the solution of this one. So of course, when I mix the aqueous, H2O becomes liquid, but without barium sulfate. If you go back to chapter 2, in chapter 2, barium sulfate, which contains sulfate, rule number 4 says sulfates normally are soluble, but with barium, strontium, and calcium, they are insoluble. So in here, since it comes with barium, then it is insoluble. Okay, it becomes a solid. Insoluble. Now, if it's insoluble, then let's write the overall ionic equation. But first, let's just balance it. Sorry, I forgot to balance it. We have one SO4, one SO4, one Ba, one Ba. But if you look at it, we have 2 hydrogen here and 2 hydrogen, 4 hydrogen. So we have to put a 2 here. How balance it? And that's it. It is balanced now. Now, how many hydrogens we have here? 2 hydrogens. And the solution is aqueous. If you remember in the previous lesson, if H is alone in aqueous, we have to add some H2O to become H3O. حتى به H بتاعنا. هذا الشيء بكلمة H3O بزاف من H3O. So we add us for every hydrogen we need H2O, 2 H2O. So if you add 2 H2O to the reactant, you have to add 2 H2O also to the product side. Okay, now let's write the overall ionic equation. Overall ionic equation This one becomes 2H3O plus SO4 is just SO4 plus Ba plus 2OH will become barium sulfide, but barium sulfide is solid. It will not become iron. That's why we have to write it again. Now, and of course, H2O and H2O becomes 4H2O, and they are liquid. Also, they will not become ions. If there are not any ions in the product side, okay, then for this reaction, we will say there are not any spectator ions. Which man spectator ion man near? If we don't have spectator ions, then we have reached net ionic equation. If we don't cancel anything, in this case, everyone, in this case, overall, ionic equation is equal to net ionic equation. كواتا كورين اللم حالتها. In situations where overall ionic equation and net ionic equation are equal, in situations where you cannot cancel anything, where everything is inside the equation, everything has undergone a reaction, then overall ionic equation and net ionic equation are equal. They are the same because we have written the whole thing in ions and everything has also reacted, so it's net ionic equation. How much can reaction she could do? So in reaction, here there are both reaction double displacement. But here both neutralization Why neutralization? What is the reaction between neutralization? Between H3O and OH. Neutralization لما نشوف يا H3O OH ايوه H3OH هر بيشان reaction يكردون بوم بتشين بو H2 كاتبه neutralization معنى. شيء تريش. And precipitation. Precipitation مش معنى. أو تا BA و SO4 يعني قلتوا precipitate يعني درس كردو. كواتلم reaction هم neutralization معناه هم precipitation مش معناه. Başka kurunu ha percefe laki. Bir tane if a salt is insoluble in these situations, overall and net ion equation will be the same. It will be the same. And we have both neutralization and precipitation reaction. That was the only difference between the previous reaction. The previous reaction, the salt was soluble, so we removed the salt because we said they are spectator ions, and we were left with H3OH becomes H2O. But in here, all of them have undergone reaction. That's why we also have neutralization. We also have precipitation. Basha Corina?
Sir.
Yes.
Can we write HSO4 instead of H2SO4?
No, because the acid, the original acid is actually H2SO4, not HSO4. Actually, HSO4 is negative and it comes from H2SO4. Okay?
We should always write the original one.
Yes, or the original acid, exactly. Because you are mixing two things. When you have something in your hand, it's actually H2SO4, not HSO4. All right? Please write it down. And we'll go to the next type of reaction. Now let's look at the next type of reaction. Acid when they react with active metal. If you remember from the beginning of this chapter, we studied the properties of acid and properties of bases. One of the properties of acid was when active metal reacts with acid, the product is salt and hydrogen gas. The product is salt and hydrogen gas. Okay? Salt and hydrogen gas. So if we look at this question, depending on that rule, what will be the answer for this question? Here, answer question 1 PLA. Someone please answer this question.
Can we say C?
Why?
Because the other ones aren't elements.
Perfect. So it says which element? Element. Hydrogen is the element. Salt is a compound. Hydrogen elementa, salt like a compound. Boya, the answer is actually C. Perfect. Okay. Now let's solve another example on this type of reaction. This is a metal, active metal, reacting with HCl. Zinc with HCl. It becomes salt and H2. What is the most important part of salt? It must have an anion from an acid. That's the most important part. Anion from acid with a cation. So we have Cl. The cation must be zinc. This is single replacement reaction. If you remember from last year, single replacement reaction that if a metal reacts with acid, it will replace the hydrogen to become hydrogen gas, and a compound will produce which we call a salt now. أما get zinc بقى metallic لقوا أسيدا الرياكشن كات أما شيء روات replace hydrogen كات replace hydrogen كات replace hydrogen كات يعني hydrogen كفر أخوي شو شويني خل شويني hydrogen كات then it becomes zinc Cl, and zinc has a charge of 2, so it will be zinc Cl2, zinc chloride, plus hydrogen gas, and the hydrogen will be released in the form of gas. بشوي gas يتدرى. The zinc chloride is a soluble salt, that's why it is aqueous. Hydrogen is a gas. Now, let's see what does the reaction want. What does the question want? Write the formula equation and net equation for these two. Formula net equation. Now we have written the formula equation. But in order to reach net ionic equation, we need overall ionic equation. The logic is the same as acid and base. So zinc is a metal. It's just a piece of metal. It's not iron. It's not separated. So we just write zinc. Solid. Sorry, but first let me balance it. We have to put a 2 here. Because 2 hydrogens and 2 Cl. When separated, it becomes 2H positive and 2 Cl. جابته بتشوشي 2H positive لقل 2 Cl. But you know that H will not, in aqueous solution, H will not stay alone. It has to react with H2O. So it's with 2 H2O is needed. If you add 2 H2O to this side, you also have to add 2 H2O to the other side. So now zinc as solid will react with 2 H3O plus 2 Cl with zinc 2 plus, sorry, it's aqueous, so it's 2 plus 2 Cl separated plus hydrogen gas C Everyone, the hydrogen gas will not react with the H2O. The hydrogen gas, it will form a gas and it will escape from the solution. It will escape from the reaction. Plus 2H2O. اللي رأي كورنا H2O كلا قال هيدروجين كي يجناجري ما هيدروجين أيونية. أما elementa. ما بقى elementa ككباجيا إنكريت. These are everyone. These are the diatomic elements. H2, N2, O2, Br2. These exist in nature as diatomic elements. Okay. Well, and this will not dissolve in H2O. It will escape from it. What it can be cancelled only? Only Cl. What about zinc? Can you cancel the zinc?
No.
Why not?
Because state is changed.
Yes.
Solid. Okay.
Exactly. And this one is solid. And the other one is dissolved and has become aqueous. It has become an ion. From a pure substance, it has become an ion. From solid, it has become aqueous. That's why it cannot be separated. So this is overall ionic equation. Now, what is left? Zinc plus 2H3O becomes zinc, hydrogen gas, and 2H2O. These are net ionic equation. So if it says, what are the reactants of this reaction? What are the reactions of this reaction? You will say the reactants are zinc and H3O. كاتق اللي برسيوتي او رياكشن الرياكتنت كاني شيء ششتك رياكشني كردوا على زنك و H3O رياكشني سيال رياكشني نكردوا. Okay. Let's solve this question. Is important. I think this question I've seen it 3 times in ministry exam questions. ترجع لمنستري exam بيني بسيارة. Let's solve it. Aluminium with H2SO4. They react to become salt and hydrogen gas. What is the salt? Aluminium and SO4. SO4 has a charge of 2, aluminium has a charge of 3, so it becomes Al2SO4 plus hydrogen gas. Is this soluble? Yes, it is soluble. Let's balance everyone. We have 2 aluminium here, we have 1, so we add 2 here. We have 3 sulfate, everyone. When you balance it, please don't forget, if a polyatomic ion is remained in the reactant on the product side as the same thing, you can balance it together. You don't have to balance the S alone, the oxygen alone. So say SO4, 1 SO4, here 3 SO4, so we add 3. Now what is left? Only hydrogen. 3 times 6 hydrogen. Here is 2 hydrogen, so we also multiply this by 3. Okay, now let's write the overall and net ionic equation. Al solid. We have 3H2, it becomes 3 hydrogen. Okay, 6 hydrogen. 3 times 2 is 6. And you know, hydrogen cannot be alone in aqueous solution. For every hydrogen, we need H2O. So we will add 6 H2O. So we'll add 6 H2O. Okay, 6H with 6 H2O becomes 6 H3O. Then we have 3 SO4 becomes 2 aluminium, 3 SO4, 3 hydrogen, 6 H2O. As you can see, only SO4 can be cancelled. Only SO4 can be cancelled. And then the net ionic equation would be 2 aluminium plus 6 H3O becomes 2 aluminium ion, 3 hydrogen gas plus 6 H2O. There you go. بخش هذا حل أكيد.
Teacher?
Yes.
In the ministry exam, should we simplify this?
Of course. In the ministry exam, in one of the years, it said, what is the net ionic equation? So this is the net ionic equation. It says, what is the net ionic equation of this reaction? It said, one of the options was this one. Or it might tell you, during net ionic equation, how many H2Os are produced in the reaction? You have to say 6 H2O. It might not only ask the whole net ionic equation, it might ask only specific parts. For example, it might say, how many H3Os are in the reactant? You have to say 6. That's why you shouldn't forget balancing. If you forget balancing, those numbers will be incorrect and everything will be wrong. Yes. We have a question in 2020, like last week, or on Saturday, not even last week. It was on Saturday, like 4 or 5 days ago. What are the spectator ions of a reaction between calcium and sulfuric acid? For this question, when it says calcium and sulfuric acid, so Ca calcium metal, of course, with sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4. If you finish the reaction, H2SO4, it becomes CaSO4 plus hydrogen gas. So what do you think? Someone answer me. Give me an answer. What do you think is the spectator ion?
None of them.
Why?
Because CaSO4 is solid.
Perfect. That's a good answer. This was a trick question. A lot of students have said that the spectator ion is SO4, while forgetting that calcium sulfate, according to rule number 4 in the precipitation guidelines in chapter 2, they forget that it is insoluble. كورينا زۆربەی تەلەبە لەمە غەڵەتی کردبوو وەکو تری کوێشن چووکە هاتبووە هەمووی بیری چوو بۆ کە کالیسیوم سەڵفەیت لە ڕاستیە سۆڵیدە لە ڕاستیە ئینسۆلیبڵە ناتوێتەوە. That's fine. So this is solid. If it's solid, then it will not ionize. So this is active. It will not dissociate. It will not become ions. Nothing will be. If you write the equation, nothing will be cancelled. İşte cancel nabe. So answer again, and there isn't any, though there aren't any. Let's just say that there isn't. There aren't any spectator ions. لم حالشة spectator ion man نية. Acid rain. What is acid rain? When a lot of gases are concentrated and produced inside atmosphere in air, when it rains, the rain will react with the gases and they will form a solution or a mixture of acid, which will form acid. For example, rainwater is normally slightly acidic. Rainwater is slightly acidic. Why? Due to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But sometimes rain is very acidic, and it's called acid rain. It's called acid rain. And why acid rains are produced? Because gases like NO, NO2, CO2, SO2, and SO3 are exist in atmosphere in very large amounts due to industrial processes, which they dissolve and get mixed in the atmospheric water, in the rain or with the rain. Then they will form acidic solutions. كواتا كاتك برغازي زور ما نبت بونمنوكو غازاني كواتا the gases are very important. You have to know the gases. NO, NO2, CO2, SO2, and SO3. They will react with water, which is the rain, and form acidic solution. And when it pours rain, the rain will be acidic. We call it acid rain. These gases are produced maybe due to industrial processes, maybe due to volcanoes. مثلا غازانا جاريو بۆی چێ دروستە بن مثلا معمەلە گەورەکانەوە معمەلێکی زۆر لە هەنێ شوێنێک کە مانتیقەیەکی زۆر معمەلی تیا بێت گازێکی زۆرە کاتە ناو هەواوە یاخود ڤۆڵکەینۆ بۆ نمونە بورکانێکە تاقێتەوە غازێکی زۆرە کاتە ناو هەواوە کاتە بارانە بارێ لەگەڵ گازانە ڕیاکشن نەکات و مثلا ئەبێ بە ئەسیدێک بۆ نمونە generally ئەگەر بنووسم generally everyone generally SO2 is converted to SO3. Generally, SO2 is converted to SO3. وعادة SO2 is a gas that is produced in insufficient oxygen. So when it finds oxygen again, this SO2 reacts to become SO3. Okay? And this SO3 reacts with water in the atmosphere to produce sulfuric acid. In the book, only this part is given, where only SO3 reacts with water to become sulfuric acid, as explanation. But actually, we have these examples as well that we have to know them. Especially 3 of them are from chapter review. So when SO3, as it says here, reacts with water, this is the water from the rain, it will form H2SO4. Okay? And H2SO4 is sulfuric acid. But when SO2 reacts with H2O, see, this is 1 is 2, this one is 3. It will become H2SO3. Oxygen geçer tasarruf به H2SO. This one is sulfurous acid. Okay. When CO2 reacts with H2O, it will become H2CO. So this one is carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. N2O5, where does N2O5 come from? We don't have N2O5 in the previous ones. That is because normally NO and NO2 convert to become N2O5 by reacting with oxygen. أما N2O5 لشوهات يبرو عادة NO2 لقل oxygen reaction كان ب N2O5 دور السبب أو بابلين formic is stable ترى. It's a more stable compound than NO and NO2, and they will form HNO3, but 3 HNO3 to balance it. Which is called nitric acid. So these are the acid rains. These are the acid rains. كوات آمنة من بيت الشبارة يا نخوارو. شكرا. هوا reaction كأكاد. شكرا. Our reaction is zinc بولغل HCl. باش. Now we talked about acid rain also. Acid rain can. What does this mean here? It means the damages of acid. زرركاني acid rain. شيئا. affect acid rain شيئا. Acid rain can do what? A, erode statues. What it says as statues, it means buildings and anything that is composed of concrete, metals, or things like that. It can erode them. For example, it can also help rust on surface of iron. That's why it speeds up the rusting reaction. Then the material or the statue will start to erode more quickly. Second, it will affect ecosystems. affect a search ecosystem. What do you mean by ecosystem? So as environment, ecosystem, we mean environment here. Environments such as fish population. Why fish population in lakes? When acid rains into a lake, and it will change the acidity of that lake. It will change the pH of that lake. And the fish population cannot grow in some certain pH, in some certain acidity. That's why they start to die. They cannot grow. They cannot like replicate. They cannot put eggs. That's why gradually the fish population will decrease and they will all die. That is due to acid rain. One more thing is forest. Okay, forest. So forest, if you remember, one of the acids is H2SO4. We said H2SO4 is, what do you call it? It's a dehydrating agent. Acid rain is a dehydrating agent. So if it's a dehydrating agent, then it will take out all the hydrogens. It will take also all the H2Os from the organic compounds and somehow it burns it. قبل كان بكورنا وثمان H2SO4 أسيدرينا بابلينك كلاوانك الأسيدرينا كان هي أما ود شيء قاعد dehydrating agent هاو داره هنا اشتغوش كاتبو أي سوتينه بهوتشي بهو شكرنا كيو فهذا تأثير كات السر مثلا فورست ودار ودرخت وشتا سوتينه ولا نعمل أساس الأمر اسمه look at this figure. Sorry, not this one. My bad. This one. سير الرسمة كم بوانا منها. سير كان مثلا دارستانك how this forest has been changed due to acid rain. Everything is dry now. That's all occurred due to acid rain. أو هم acid rain ويراني كردوه. كباريو بسرية دارشتكي سوتانوتيك يا ونتردا وداركان ناجين داركان مردون. باشا. What else? pH of soil. pH is checker. Is soil. مثلا you have studied in biology. pH of soils. Soils are very important for plantation, and plants can grow in certain pHs in the soil. If the pH is changed very much, some certain plants they cannot grow into the inside those soils. It will not be a good habitat, a good place for some certain plants to grow. That's why when acid rains get into a soil, they will change the pH of the soil, and the plants cannot grow easily. Basha. أوكاتا planta كان باجنارن ودو أوشونش برو وشبونو برو تصحرو أمشتان رو ديزيفيكيشن رو باشا كورينا ليريا إما تابتري ستاوبو بيجوبشين السبت صلاح الطرنقا كسبيسياري هي كورينا لسر أسيزرين أتواب زام زورج معنا باش كسبيسياري ماذا ما با شين السر section review. Section review, question 1, everyone. Question 1, there are the reactions. So we have studied those reactions. Each reaction we have studied like the same. We have the same example as these reactions in the upper examples. That's why we don't have to solve them all again. They are just repetition and reviews of those reactions, but you can look at the answer key and please try to solve it by yourselves first, then look at the answer key, because these reactions are also very important. Okay, it talks about acid and base. It is asking about acid and base reactions. All right, acetic acid. Let's see, this reaction is given and what is required. To compare the strength of the two acids in the equation, do the same for the bases. Okay, compare بين strength acid وبيجوش تكامك. Okay, so acetic acid, we know it's a weak acid. H2O is a weak base. Then acetate is a strong conjugate base. Then H3O must be strong conjugate acid. قاعدة H3O چی بد؟ strong conjugate acid. فسيجاوب. Determine which direction, forward or reverse, is favored in the reaction. Can someone please tell me the answer to that question?
Acetate acid is teacher. We are solving the A part, isn't it?
B. So I have solved the A. This is A. Weak acid, weak base, strong. What about B?
It will be to the left.
Why?
Because stronger side will react more efficiently.
Very good. Very good. Towards which side?
Towards left side.
Towards the left side, towards the weaker side. Always in a reaction, the direction, the favorability of a reaction is towards the weaker side. That's why it will be towards the left, which is the reverse reaction. Okay. 3. Explain how the presence of several oxygen atoms in a compound containing an OH group can make a compound acidic. It says why, by increasing the number of oxygen in a compound that contains OH group, becomes more acidic. So if you remember, we studied that in OH in a compound, and the answer was because extra number of oxygen will draw electron density away from the OH bond. Oxygen can electron density away from OH bond, making it more polar. What does it mean making it more polar? More easily broken. while يتبع أساني بشكت. شكرا. Ministry exam questions, and I will send you ministry exam question answer keys. Don't worry about this. It's ready. All I have to do is just send it to you, and that is it. What else? And by the way, you have a quiz